Hi, I'm Mike Williams, and this is for Year 12 parents to go alongside the information we have sent out by email about your child's ALICE assessment and also a bit about grading in Year 12 and 13 at West Island School. So that's what we're going to go through today. I'm going to go through quite quickly through it for the sake of the video. Do stop it if you want to look a bit longer. I'll also send the slide deck to you so you can look through it at your own pace. So we use ALICE system, which means A-level information system, but it's also used for IB diploma as well. Millions of pieces of data from millions of students over many years. They developed this program at the Centre for Evaluation and Monitoring at Cambridge International. Three areas we use the data for. One is for looking at diagnostic information about your child, especially in terms of their vocab and maths or literacy and numeracy. And we also can predict make some predictions about your child's performance in their IB exams, and we can use it to look at the school's performance in value-added reports comparing against other schools around the world. As I said, the three areas there are vocab, maths. The third area is non-verbal. So if you think of students, how they collect and analyze information, some will be in verbal form, written form, some will be in mathematical form, and others will be things like charts and diagrams. So that's the non-verbal or spatial awareness. It measures developed ability, which says ability is not set. Students can develop their ability by, for example, reading more and more challenging text to find more vocabulary, learn more vocabulary. So that's why it can be developed over time and with learning skills as well. It's an adaptive test, so once the students get a question correct, then the questions get harder, and they keep getting harder when the students get questions correct. There are thousands of questions in the data bank, and so what it does is when the student starts getting questions wrong, and then a few right, a few wrong, it converges on a number the algorithm is happy with, and the program stops. I'm going to go through a few of the questions, but I'm not going to spend any time on it because we'll do a quick video, but you can have a look through them yourself at your leisure. So you can see that some questions are easy, some questions are difficult, and the most difficult ones are very, very challenging indeed. It's quite difficult maths. There's no calculator allowed, and it's all timed. So this is not going to the non-verbal now, spatial awareness and logic. So you can see the types of questions. So all the scores, maximum score is 150. The average score is 100. This is based on the average UK students. So the average UK students 100. In West Island School, the average West Island students are around about 110. We're very lucky to have students with very high developed ability in West Island School. So this is the percentiles. For example, if you score 110, that means you're in the 72nd percentile, which means you're better than about 72% of students in the sample worldwide. In the worldwide sample, this is based on average UK students. If you're in the 99th percentile, around about 136, that means you're in the top 1% of students taking the assessment. So this is an average student, as I said, around about 110. What you do is you put the vocab and math score together and they come out with what's called an ability score. It's not an average, it's called a ranked average, but it's a combination of the vocab and maths. So this is what we call the ability, or in this case, the standard score. And here's a percentile. I'd kind of ignore these two things here. So just percentile and standard score. And you notice this student here is the same developed ability in vocab and maths, which is great, which is what you want. What you should be looking for, though, is if there is a very big difference, or a big difference, if these uncertainty bars here are not overlapping. That means your child has an area which is not developed as well as the other area. So it's going to be their limiting factor in their progress. In this case, it's the vocab, which is the limiting factor in the progress of this child. So the advice would be to read more challenging text, or just to read more. I see students with this profile, invariably they don't read. So they're going to be held back when they're doing any kind of assignment, which requires them to write and explain things using using words. And the vice versa, if the maths is low, they need to be working more on their maths. Okay, so let's go on to how we using these grades. So these are chances charts which we've sent through to you. It takes a little bit of explaining. So going back to this score here, which was the ability score over here, that's 142. Now, in this example here, the ability, or as it calls the base adapted test baseline score here, is 100. So this child is kind of the average UK student here. So what it does, these chances charts tell you what happened to all the students in the sample in the many previous years. What happened to them? The students who scored 100 on the ability score in the baseline test, what did they go on to achieve in their final exams? So it's not actually saying something about your child, it's saying something about historically what happened to the students with the same ability score as your child. So we're looking down this right hand side, and we can see in higher level language and literature, students with 100 ability score, 43% of them went to score a level 6. Doesn't mean they can't achieve a level 7, because 11% achieved a level 7, and so on. So these are on the right hand side are from the ALICE test, the ability score in the ALICE test. And on the left hand side there's another baseline, which is the average GCSE score from all subjects. So if your child has done 9 GCSE subjects, you take the average grade from those subjects out of 9. 9 is the highest grade you can get, and you give an average, and then the ALICE program looks at all the students who scored the same average GCSE score. What did they go on to achieve in each subject? In this case, 54% of students scored a level 6, but still 16% scored a level 7. So it gives you an indicator of what kind of grades your child should be looking at, but it's not saying they will get those scores. Now, we never use this data to send that to universities. We don't report on this data. When we send information to all the schools, we don't use this data. In our grading, we don't use this data in terms of reporting to you as parents or to the children of grades they've got in their subject. We don't use this. All we use this for is for an indication or a baseline grade here, and we share this information with you. And again, it's not saying in the student here, the ability baseline says a 5.7. It's saying the average score of students with the same ability baseline score as this student, the student scored an average of 5.7. This is why it's a 0.7, because it's an average of all the scores added up. So it gives an indication of what this child should be looking for, really. And what we do as well is we get our students to do target grades, which means they're getting involved, gives the students agency. And studies throughout the world have shown if you get students involved in their own grading and target setting, it's got a very large positive effect on their final score, because they feel invested in the process. So this student here, which is from our current year 12, I just picked this off a couple of days ago, then they've gone, okay, I'll go for a target at level 6, then baseline saying level 5. They don't need to use the baseline. They can be as aspirational as they want, but the teacher's going to say to them, okay, here's your target. How are you going to move towards that target? What are you going to do to make sure you get there? So that's a student entered target grade. They can change it whenever they like. So talk to your children about their target grade when you have a look at this. Now, I need to explain the difference between these two grades here, which is the transcript grade and the feedback cycle grade. Okay, so your child now is I'm recording this in October, the end of October in 2024. And then the students have been a couple of months in their courses, and they're starting to do assessments. They might have done a few assessments or just one assessment within this feedback cycle. Let me show you the dates of the feedback cycles here. You can see we've got a feedback cycle just finishing now. So there needed to be an assessment and some feedback, either verbal or written, given by the teacher to the student during this feedback cycle. We've got 6 feedback cycles until the end of January, which is going to be the year 13 mock exam. So this is over year 12 and year 13 for your child. So these grades here show you how they've got in this feedback cycle, but they're not totally skilled up in the subject so early on. So these grades may be low. For example, here in maths, we've got this student on a grade 3, a level 3 in the first feedback cycle. That's based on the assessments they've done so far. But the teacher actually thinks, this is transcript grade now, that in the end, they're likely, given the current rate of progress, to actually score a level 4. So this is the grade the teacher thinks the student is going to achieve by the end of the course. And this grade will get better and better, or more accurate as you go through the course, because the teacher will have more information about the child as we go through feedback cycles. So once again, this is how they're getting on now, and this is what the teacher thinks they'll get in the end. This grade, this transcript grade, in fact, is used on university transcripts, because universities, American universities, ask us for grades from when students were in year 10, 11, 12, and 13. So to show the progress throughout the years. So this is that grade. So the grade in January in year 12, in June in year 12, in January in year 13 will be used on transcripts, as well as the actual GCSE grade as well. Okay, and that explains it there. You can read that yourself. Now, the most important thing throughout this whole the whole of the grading process is the student role in this. The student's role in this is at the center of all of this assessment. So they need to set targets here. Where am I going? Where are they now is the assessment, or the assessment they've just done. They need to analyze or interpret the information from the assessment. It's all their role to do this. Then they need to make a plan on what to do next. It's no good just doing an assessment, then moving on and doing the same thing again next assessment. You have to analyze where you went wrong and come up with an action plan to improve the mistakes that you made here, or the misconceptions that you have there. So this is the action plan. So the most powerful thing I think that we're trying to do with your children is these action plans. So this is actually an example of a year 10 one, but the same in year 12. Every feedback cycle, the child, your child has to do an action plan within each of the subjects. This is shared with you, so you can talk with your children about these action plans and what actually are they doing about their learning. So they serve as kind of reports to the ongoing learning that your child is doing at West Island School. So the problem with feedback is sometimes the students forget the feedback because it's given verbally, or it's given on many different types of media our students use at the moment, not just in exercise books, obviously. So they need to keep a place where they can analyze this feedback and think of what actions they're going to carry out because of this feedback. And it's not just subject specific feedback they can use. They can look at learning skills and revision skills. We do a lot of work. We had someone called Kieran Goy, who's a world-renowned expert on education, on study skills. He spoke to your children a few weeks ago, and they've got information in a booklet which they wrote at the time. They can be using these skills and putting these practicing these skills and writing them into their action plans as well, and actually carrying them out. So the parents are always asking what they can do to help their children progress. Look at the action plans, talk about the grades, how are they going to go on from the assessment they've done, what happened in the assessment. Okay, I think I'm about end of time. Actually, it's like my last slide. So I'll leave you with that information, but talk to your child about their subjects and about what they're actually doing to improve, and make sure they're writing it. Well, the teacher will make sure they're writing the action plan and checking it, but you talk to them about the action plan and what their plan is next. Put the child right at the center of everything they're doing. It's their responsibility, and they'll progress by taking that responsibility. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for listening.